Now tuning in to Earbud Media. Audio for everyone.
What if we start off with a good old Glee singing moment? I can't carry a tune, but...
Oh? Yeah, please. Fuck our theme song.
Yeah,
just like Usher's, a cold open, you know?
No.
A cold open?
Nothing says a cold open to me like a good old dance number, you know?
Every time you pick the one thing that is ill-suited for an audio medium, and I feel like I should expect it at this point, and I don't, and every time I'm let down.
No, it's been 4 years. You should expect it by this point. Anyways, there's a new voice here.
Ooh.
I don't even know that I would consider it a new voice. More just like a friend of the family is back in the space.
I'm home.
She's home!
I was so cold.
Someone's been out in the forest sleeping too long.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hello to our lovely guest, Rachel, friend of the family,
Boy, 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 boy.
for being here today.
It's good to be back. We were just trying to figure out when I was last year, and I legally cannot remember.
I'm just going to confidently say December of 2017, and I'm just going to go with that, because I think that's right.
I really like that.
Welcome into Twilight. It's good to be back. I think that's a great tagline for us. Since we've got someone here other than Cody, I'm going to start with you, Rachel. Rachel, how the hell are you doing?
I am sweating,
Same.
and that's not on brand for the theme of vampires or anything, legally, but it's fine. It is very warm in Washington. I don't have an air conditioner.
Oh, no.
And, you know, that's
Shit
fine.
happens, you know, sometimes.
I was going to try out natural deodorant. I think I have to wait until it's cold.
It's not the time. It's not your time.
I don't think it's
No.
right. It's not right now.
Oh my gosh.
No, that sounds awful. Yeah, it's hot as hell here. Cody, how's it going in your neck of the woods? Give us the weather report.
I hate it. I hate it here. I do have a fan, though. That's a new development.
Ooh.
I will say I do have the date of that episode, the last time you
Thank
were here.
you.
And
Oh?
Allie was right. It was December 11th, 2017.
I'm so good at that.
Also, do we want to
Your
know the
mind.
title of this episode real quick?
Yes.
Please.
It's episode 54 if you want to go back and listen. It's called Brass Out the Ass.
Why?
I should have re-listened to it before I came on today. I was going to, but then I got lost in the world of fanfic, and
listen,
here I am.
You can't do everything. But yeah, that's lovely.
My
Welcome
God.
back.
So it's been 130 episodes since we've
Oh my
had
God.
you on here. Time is fake, but that's okay.
It really is.
We're so glad to have you here. Since the last time that you were on here, Rachel, we have added a new thing where, in addition to just talking about how we are, we bring something happy into the space before we talk about awful things.
I love that.
Has anything good happened to you in life?
Well, I am growing dill, and that has been very rewarding
That's
for me.
so good.
And my bagels.
God bless.
And she's got roots now.
We
you
love
know?
cottagecore.
Those dill, they have legs. I know. I really am becoming that person. And I also learned that, you know, like green onions? You know.
I'm a bit familiar.
Have you heard?
Have you heard of those boys? Turns out we should stop buying them, and you should just chop off the ends and stick them in water, and then you have an infinite
That's
supply.
amazing. I gotta do that.
I had no idea, and I feel so angry at all of the years that I spent spending money on these
We've been
boys,
scammed
and here I could just grow them.
forever.
Yeah.
Listen, the produce department in grocery stores is fake. That's what I'm learning based on TikTok, is that, like, none of the vegetables are the right size that there actually are out in the wild,
Sure.
and you can just make your own, just DIY scallions.
We are the produce department.
Whoa. Isn't that just farming?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's fine.
don't lie and say that the mister doesn't hit different, because it does.
Oh, you're
It
right.
does.
It's different than real life mist, you know? Cody, do you
Just
have
get a
a
little
happy thing that
squirt
you're bringing
bottle.
to space? Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just like kind of a happy thing, kind of just like a fun related thing to our podcast.
Sure.
I watched The Love Witch this past week. Which is very good. It's like from 2016, I think, by this director, Anna Biller. And it's kind of like this, like, it's basically filmed like it was in the 60s, and it's like super stylized, like, she's a witch and she likes to kill men, basically. And that's the whole thing. And it's very fun. But I can't stop thinking about it because she leaves a literal mug of piss. At the crime scene.
Oh?
No.
Where she, like, kills this
We've been
guy.
here before.
And I was like, this is familiar. Like, this whole time we've been, you know, being shitty, being like, this is a really ridiculous plot. And the fact that he's just so focused on this mug of piss. Meanwhile, this actual example of this happening in another media text, I can't.
I hate that a lot.
It made me actually quite upset.
I would like if piss at the crime scene just becomes a stereotype in Hollywood.
Yes, that's my favorite ska band, I think.
It would make a good band.
I feel like it's an insult to the Bell Company who makes those mason jars.
Yeah.
They're meant for anything else.
Sure.
Maybe it's the dollar store, like the dollar spot at Target erasers.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's jam or ice cream. But piss? Like that's not on brand.
I don't know. I think, honestly, they leave it up to interpretation for a reason.
Hey.
That's true.
It's like, listen, you do whatever you want with these jars. That's not on us. That's not, you do you.
Yeah, as soon as you buy it from them, they just like wipe their hands of all liability.
Right.
Goddamn.
What is your happy thing, my dude?
I'm so glad that you asked. My happy thing this week is something that you created.
It's so awful.
My terrible hands and brain.
With your genius mind and beautiful access to Photoshop. Hi, listen, I'm talking about another visual and audio medium. Sue me. Cody sent me a photo yesterday of the Glee cast. And I was like, oh, great. Looks great. I don't know what you're doing this for. Maybe it's just a fun little, like, warm-up, you know, like how artists do. And I didn't question it at all, that the fact that it photoshopped into this image was Twilight Bella and Twilight Edward, just, like, in it.
Doing a little squat.
Just chilling while the Glee class is, like, singing Journey at the top of their lungs.
Yeah.
Only to find out today that I have said awful things on this podcast about Glee, and I didn't remember them because I blocked them out. So thank you for that memory. It's been awful.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's a pleasure, honestly. It's honestly concerning how broken my brain has gotten those last few years, and especially the last few weeks on TikTok, where I just made that without question.
Sure.
Immediately after having the idea, and just felt nothing from doing it.
I will say, looking at it right now, they fit in so seamlessly to this image.
Yeah, like if you were just scrolling,
I would love a
know.
crossover.
Seriously, like those were the first like versions of like them that I can splice in that I was like doing, and I'm like, no, this is perfect. This can just go. This is it.
It just makes me wonder, like, why would a vampire ever need to crouch, other than killing? Like, what is he doing?
Right. Where is this from?
Who is this man?
Yeah.
The one thing that doesn't make my brain hurt, and I'm so glad that we have you on here, Rachel, is I would like to return 3 years ago when we started talking about your Twilight experience. I'm going to assume that there are a fair few of folks that have been following us along on this danger for about 4 years. But for those that don't remember, Rachel, would you do this the honor and talk to us about how you got into Twilight, please?
This is just the thing that I love to talk about the most, to be honest. It really is. So, before the Twilight Renaissance, there was a time where reading Twilight was frowned upon, if you will. And I just remember being a young, spry 7th grader, just vibing out, doing my thing. And a girl in my class had a copy of the books and told me what they were about. And I remember, like, back then, vampires were not, like, a thing that people were excited about. Because it wasn't, like, I guess they're kind of like the zombies today. Like, zombies, it's like, oh, yeah, we see them and everything. Like, it's fine.
Right.
Vampires were like, we don't talk about her. Interview with a Vampire is all we know, and that's it.
Like, it was just Anne Rice in a corner, and everyone just accepted that but ignored her.
Yeah. And that's fine, you know? And so I started reading them, and I was like, oh, yes, this is absolutely some shit I'm about to be obsessed with. I love it. And then fast forward to, I guess, 8th grade, Eclipse is about to come out, the book. And this is when the movie is, like, just in the talks. And I went to a little thing called Twilight Prom. And I got to meet Miss Stephenie Meyer herself. God. It is literally my biggest flex that I have. I will never shut up about it, and I do brag. I will say that right now. I am so happy that I got to see her face to face and look her in her eyes and ask her questions.
And just ask her why.
Not everyone can say they
look
did
at her
that.
stern lamp.
Just something so vacant in those eyes that she created this whole world. I had her sign my book. She only signed Eclipse. She wasn't going to sign... Like, I brought all my other books with me. And she was like, no, we only signed the new one that you had to just buy in hard copy right now. Ugh. And she wrote to Rachel with the number 2. And that is my favorite thing to talk about. It just sets the tone of her writing and just ingenuity as a whole. I was just saying this to my partner. I never would have thought that, like, in my 8th grade self, that I'm pushing 30 now, and here I am twice on this beautiful Twilight podcast. My 8th grade self would have been so happy that I'm doing this and that I still care and that a new book is coming out. Like, what?
Hello?
So, wow. But yeah.
That... There's so much about that. Like, you could honestly write a story just about looking into those dead eyes in person.
And, like, I used to be on YouTube, and I made a tutorial that ended up being pretty popular around when Breaking Dawn Part 1 came out, because that's my favorite movie of the franchise. If anyone remembers, like, what was that, like 2012, like 2011 beauty YouTube times? Ugh. Everyone was doing her makeup look for her wedding because, like, duh, right. That's the look. And I decided, no, I would like to do desiccated, half-dead Bella when she's giving birth. And so that was the look that
I'm
I
not
did.
like other girls, you know?
I know, that was a very Converse to prom kind of a move, but, you know, it paid off. It was different. It hit those search engines, you know?
And that's a career, folks.
Yeah, and then everything from then on, once I met Stephenie Meyer, my career really took off.
It's the prophecy.
It really started a chain reaction for me.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
Thinking about 2012 YouTube gives me chills. And not in a good way. Just like a visceral, like, fear.
Yes.
But I feel like out of the good things that came out at that time, that tutorial was important and memorable.
Truly a cultural reset.
I'm so glad. It really was for me. And I had a roommate at the time that looked like Kristen Stewart, and so I did the makeup on her. And overall, you know, some things just stay cooking in this brain. And it's been Twilight this whole time, not stop.
Smooth brain, one thought, and it's only Twilight this entire time.
My whole cortex. I don't know. My hemispheres. Yeah.
Speaking about someone that's all consumed with Twilight, should we talk about Catherine Hardwicke finally on this show?
Jesus.
After all this time. I don't know what is more surprising to me. One, that either Entertainment Tonight brought back Catherine Hardwicke, like had a new conversation with her about the Midnight Sun movie, or your news, Cody, which shook me entirely, that she has a Quibi show.
Hello. Breaking news.
So both of these are incredibly haunting things. I'm going to discuss this ET Online article a little bit because, like, they are making it sound like it was this huge exclusive that they released yesterday. Being able to talk to Catherine Hardwicke. Essentially asking, like, are you going to remake Twilight now, but from Edward's perspective, a la Midnight Sun? And she was like, absolutely.
That's so good to hear, honestly.
I mean, she said it was going to be difficult, obviously, but Midnight Sun would just have to be another film. One of the things when they asked her about it, she was like, it would be fun. It would be fascinating, which, like, if I can think of a word that comes out of Catherine Hardwicke's mouth, it has to be fascinating. I just always imagine her very hyped up.
Yeah, I feel like she's always amped. Like, she's just, like, chugging Bang Energy or something. Like, just...
Absolutely. The true sponsor of Four Loko, Catherine Hardwicke.
Yeah, seriously.
But as she's like, obviously she's like, it's difficult, you know, because like Rob is Batman now, and Kristen's in all of these amazing things, but she does not dismiss it as something that will never happen, just a maybe, which I don't hate.
But there's no way that she thinks that they'll come back for it. Like, she has to know that they're gonna have to recast, because he does not look 17 anymore.
No, there's no way. And there's just, like, you could not pay Robert enough to get back into that franchise.
No.
Oh, God.
After all the work he's done.
I would just love the energy, the energy that he brought to us with that photo shoot in quarantine.
Oh.
That's the kind of energy I'd love to have him be diving back into Edward's skin suit, you know?
Absolutely.
Like, that's what I want.
Is he gonna make that cursed pasta, too? It's like, we can't go to Bellatalia because quarantine, but I got something. I can whip up something real nice for you. Don't even worry.
This rivals Charlie's afternoon pasta. It's just
I got 9 packets of Kraft cheese on top here, and I'll put it in the microwave.
That's the thing that really fucks me up, is I imagine, and I did this too, but I feel like for the past decade, a lot of people were like, oh, Robert, he's so classy. He probably eats amazing things. But he ends up having the cooking skills that Charlie does.
Yeah.
Which I feel like completely obliterates a lot of people's mental image of him.
Totally. Like, he's a rat. Yeah. He's a rat man. Like, he's just...
I love it,
absolutely.
Though, you know? Like, I just picture him, like, topping pizza with Gushers, and that is the energy that he brings to the party, and I love that. And then I'm picturing Kristen Stewart making, like, a flawless poached egg. You know?
The duality.
And to be served a poached egg by Kristen Stewart is really just what's going to take over the other hemisphere for the next 20 minutes. So
it is incredibly important. Cody, could you talk about this Quibi series, please?
Sure.
Because I'm looking at the cast list for the first time, and I'm about to shit my pants.
Okay, right? Okay, so Catherine Hardwicke has a show on Quibi, apparently. We can't confirm this because we're not sure that Quibi exists. But
I think it's fake, personally.
It's some government scheme, I don't know, that's just raised a lot of money. Catherine Hardwicke allegedly has a show that's like some sort of sci-fi, almost like choose your own adventure-y kind of feel, which has Helena Howard in it, who I love, and she's great. Also, Don Cheadle.
Which, like, what?
Oh. Hello? Back in the game, Don Cheadle, hello? Hello?
Back in the game, Don Cheadle is original.
Yeah, his God-given Christian name, yeah. Emily Mortimer is in it.
It's incredibly confusing to me.
Yeah.
I want to know what the tone of it is visually, not like the actual plot, but the color tone. Like, is it a beautiful cascading blue? Like, I just want to know.
I just want to know.
Is it that signature Catherine Hardwicke blue?
The other thing that I want to know is that the scripts for this Quibi series, one of the writers is Charlie McDonnell.
Oh, like the Charlie McDonnell?
What?
I honestly, folks, I can't tell.
Oh,
because...
Charlie from YouTube?
Speaking of 2012 YouTube.
That's what I thought. It really fucks me up because in this ET article it says, like, she has this 14-episode series. It's all about, like, a high school student know if they're human. It's like, okay, Catherine, we got it. And the scripts for this, it says, were penned by Charlie McDonnell and Jeffrey Lieber. And if it's not...
Oh,
Charlie
it is. It is him.
It is?
It is. Yep, he's talking about it on his Twitter.
Oh my god. It's all connected.
It is. Wow.
What?
God, we just had the impenetrable honor of learning this news.
He did an AMA with Catherine Hardwicke on Reddit.
What?
Oh my god, to say that you did an AMA with Catherine Hardwicke.
I would change all my business cards immediately.
Yeah.
I
First line of my resume.
That is so
my
haunting.
brain stopped working. It's not functioning.
It's the mashup we never expected, but it's the one we deserve.
What a terrifying crossover.
My head is both empty and crowded, and I don't know what to do. I'm so scared.
So does that mean you guys are going to have to watch it for the next episode?
I guess.
But
I guess we have to
watch
get
it.
Quibi.
Oh,
Do you get Quibied, or does Quibi get you, honestly?
Oh, fuck. Shit. You're right.
I can't, like, turn around too fast and look into a dark corner, because I'm convinced that Quibi is there. Speaking of dark corners,
oh my God.
Rachel, we're going to ask you for a second to just, like, dig deep into your past.
God, I'm so nervous.
Because Screen Rant this past week, friend of the family Screen Rant, posted this listicle being like Edward Cullen versus Damon Salvatore, who wins in a fight. And I am not going to click through on this article because I don't care what they have to say. I only care about what you have to say about this.
First impression, Damon has to win. And that is just because, I mean, have we seen Edward fight? I know as if you could fight him off, but I'm pretty sure Damon is up for that challenge. I don't know. Damon is just out here snapping necks and just staying catty. I don't know. He does not give a shit. He killed his, like, girlfriend's brother at one point because he was like, you know what? I'm pissed off today. And that was a big move. Okay? So I don't know. I just really think Edward would not snap Alice's neck. I don't know.
It's... Looking at this is haunting because I never watched The Vampire Diaries. There's only so much of CW I can take, and I chose my shitty show, and I could not do another. Oh. So all of these references mean nothing to me.
I will say, in the pilot, they do reference Twilight. Like, Damon actually is sitting there with a copy of the book.
No,
and being like,
what?
Fuck these vampires and their stupid sparkles. Because in the show, they don't sparkle, obviously, because that was a Stephenie Meyer wet dream. Who knows?
Yeah, Stephenie Meyer would have sued them.
Yeah. But in the show, it's like they have witches. There's all kinds of different supernatural beings in that show. And they start off with just witches and vampires. The classics. And the witches can curse a piece of jewelry or whatever. And it can be a daylight ring or it could be a necklace. Whatever fits your mood. And so that's how they stay out of the sun. Because they just burn up and completely die if they're in the sun without this piece of jewelry. That they have to get a witch to make. And witches are already like, the balance of the universe. You guys are awful. So you got to really prove to them that, like, you're not going to, you know, abuse its power or whatever. That kind of a thing.
I love this idea of witch SPF.
Yes.
And if I could have that, I could spend so much less money.
True.
I just feel like, overall, the vampires in the Vampire Diaries, they have a lot more to lose, because there's so many ways to kill them, and in Twilight, it's just like, oh, we go out sun and we make a big spectacle of it. And, like, people don't want to see that. And then it's like, oh, we could be ripped up into shards, but, like, who's gonna really do that to us, you know? So that's why I would say Damon.
I'm glad that you are an expert on so many things, but we are tapping into only a couple today of just the really important ones of the Vampire Diaries and your Twilight knowledge.
If I get to be known for anything, it's my knowledge of these two franchises. That would be all I want.
And the next franchise that we're going to ask you about. Cody, could you read our listener question for me, please?
Absolutely. This is from Cassandra, who asks, a nice crossover question. What Animal Crossing villagers are the Twilight fam?
Oh my god, I love this question. Wow. Okay, well, immediately what came to mind is Lucky has to be in the Twilight fam, and I'm like having trouble thinking who that would be. Lucky, the like cursed mummy dog with the glowing eye. I mean, he could be Jacob. Jacob's got glowing eyes, and he's a cursed dog, if you think about it. So, I like that.
Based on his catchphrase alone and just the way that he looks, it reminded me a lot of Tyler circa Twilight after the car crash. I'm not tied to that, though.
Oh my god.
That's so true. I would also say our Lord and Savior Renesmee has to be... I need you to look up Freckles, any of you that play Animal Crossing when you get a moment. Yeah. This is specifically Renesmee CGI'd. Okay, this is not young.
She's so scary.
Yeah, but I do love Freckles. Freckles deserves more love, you know?
Respect for Freckles.
I really do.
It's just the, like, set apart eyes.
It's just really so wide. It's so wide.
So wide and really so wide. Big.
They've been through so much. And I would say this might be a hot take because people have very divisive feelings about Diva the Villager. Mm-hmm. However, Diva is serving absolutely 20s-esque Alice at the wedding, okay? Oh, she's got that 20s little haircut, and she's wearing purple. I mean, that's the color.
Yeah.
So, and I would say Monique is Rosalie.
Ooh, I was going to say Tiffany for Rosalie.
Wait. I like that. That's better. And also the fact that she definitely has a whip, you know? Like.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
For the titular 3.
Yes.
Oh, the titular 3.
All I know is that the real Animal Crossing Bella could not be Bella.
No.
They are further apart.
Very far apart.
Yeah.
And if I remember right, there is an actual Jacob, right? But it's like a bird.
Yes, you're right. That's why I'm saying Lucky really vibes for Jacob for me. Or like
Yeah.
Butch, you know? Or Sam Muley could be a little Butch, you know? And Edward, I mean, okay, this might be a hot take as well.
Okay.
But Sprinkle the Sparkly Penguin
Oh
is really
my god.
giving me
Wow.
from heaven Edward. I don't know. You let me know.
There's so much to unpack just in that statement alone.
It's not what you would expect,
I mean-
but it's what we deserve.
There's the hair, the hair twirl, the eyes. I see it.
It's either that or like literally Marshall, like the short, angy squirrel.
Oh,
Angie.
But that could also be Jasper. I don't know. God.
Jasper gives off a lot of Marshall vibes to me, so that feels right.
I would agree.
Jasper and Diva together, a match made in heaven.
Truly. Also, just looking at this, Esme reminds me a lot of Poppy.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with that.
I would
Yes.
Like
Very
whoever just
nurturing.
has the softest eyes.
agree. Yeah, just so soft, so warm.
And like, it's not a villager, but I unfortunately have to give Charlie Booker or Copper.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's sad but true.
You hate to see it, but you hate to see it.
Like, I love to watch him leave.
No! I saw myself walk into that, and I hated every moment.
I hate it so much. You're not wrong. I just still hate it.
Yeah.
So the reason why we brought you here today, one, was to talk about the Adventures Initiative, and two, was to talk about this titular movie of Twilight and Forks, the documentary, I should say.
Yes.
Just to recap, both of you had never seen this before, is that right?
Correct.
Great. Love synchronicity. Rachel, please just open up your notes for me.
Oh.
Just give me an overall vibe check for this documentary, please.
The vibe check is, I would say, 7 minutes in, I thought I was watching a Twilight-themed Parks and Rec episode.
Okay,
Yep.
yes.
And that's really the tone of this entire documentary. It's the zooms, the music, the graphics, the townspeople.
The transitions.
Yeah. It's a Parks and Rec saga. And I absolutely love it. I had no idea what I was walking into. I thought it was going to be just like about how the town was impacted by Twilight, which it definitely obviously discusses that. But in the beginning, when they're kind of like trying to get the audience to think like, also, people in Forks literally think this shit is real, and there are vampires among us.
The amount of committing to the bit that happens in that first 7 minutes is unreal. I thought I was losing it.
Oscar-worthy performances.
There's some shop owners that are like, well, I mean, you know, it's like, it's dark and stormy, and like, could happen, you know? And like, everyone they talk to is like, well, maybe. There's like one teen, it's like, there's no fucking vampires here, but everyone else is like, who knows?
It's that one woman that owns the flower shop that is like, I mean, listen, growing up, I never went into these one woods. And I found someone like hours away who said, I sure as hell did not go into the same woods. And we just kind of knew that there was just some reason why we didn't do that. And then it cuts to like a high school football player who's just like, yeah, I don't fucking understand why this is happening. Like, I'm just trying to play football.
Yeah, I'm just trying to graduate, man. I don't know what to do.
I felt like he was
you
actually
can make
very
it-
upset that people thought that he was winning at a football game because they were vampires or whatever. He seemed very
For
burned
real.
by
Okay,
that.
but like, sidebar, that kid is definitely a werewolf. Like, jokes aside, that kid is absolutely a werewolf. Every time they cut to him, they're like, yeah, people keep saying, like, I look like a vampire, I look like a werewolf. This guy, like, the most unshaven high school senior I've ever seen in my entire life, and is just so pissed at everything. And I'm like, are you not? You can tell us. It's okay. This is
He's
a safe
about
space.
to change.
That's
Right.
He's just mid-animorph.
Rip
like,
his cargo shorts.
right.
If you can make it through the first 9 minutes of this, you can make it through the whole thing. But also, I feel like the first 9 minutes are, like, they peak really early.
Yeah.
It is terrifying. I think the thing that surprised me the most after, because I remember watching this when it came out and then just completely blacking it out. For good reason, I understand now. But the fact that this is an official Summit production really fucks me up a little bit.
Haunting.
I was not expecting that. Haunting. It's beautiful.
Because this feels like, throughout the whole thing, like one of those DVD extras that you get with them.
I would venture to say it feels like a 2008 YouTube video.
Yes.
Also that.
Yeah.
And I was shocked when I saw the Summit logo, and Chris was like, oh, this cannot be happening? I would also like to ask, do we know if any of the stuff they said in the very beginning was true? Because I had never heard that the real owner of the Cullen house was owned by a doctor who had adopted children. Like, is that actually true?
That has to be fake. There's no way.
They were starting to get me. I was like, damn, there are vampires here.
Whoa, you're right.
That presumes that Stephenie Meyer did more than 2 Google searches during all of this. 1, to see where the wettest place was in the continental U.S., and 2, that Google search of vampires that she has Bella do later on.
I literally had that in my fucking notes. I was like, there's this one dude who's like, he's the principal of the Forks High School, and he's just like,
what the fuck, first of all?
Right, he also looks like he's like in his 20s. Like, he's just like, are you allowed to be a principal? He's like, oh, you know, it's actually kind of faithful. There's stuff that isn't right, but like a lot of stuff is like pretty impressive for someone who like, you know, just kind of Googled Forks and hasn't really been here before. And I was like, you're giving a lot of fucking credit to the woman who in the text was like, oh, I think this guy might be a vampire. Let me Google vampire.
She's the queen of search engines.
Where's that Google sponsorship? What's going on?
Also, the speculation about whether or not Stephenie Meyer visited Forks before she wrote the book. I love this. It's like, is this going to be like in the history books? Like, we never know if she actually did go there before she wrote the text, because wow, but she might have stayed at an Airbnb off the highway. We don't know.
I want to see that fucking receipt. They were like, oh, we were going through receipts and we saw an S. Meyer. It's like, fucking show. This is a documentary. Show the receipt.
It's Stanley Meyer.
Yeah.
If you're like, I was just fishing.
Don't just say, like, oh, all of a sudden during this, we decided to go back through our credit card slips from 5 years ago. Like, don't just say that and then not prove anything.
I also really liked that half the people in this documentary met Stephenie Meyer at a Mormon church in the area, and that's how they all got connected with her. It's just very on brand, and just really speaks volumes to me, and I love it.
There's so much in this that is completely buck wild. I was already screaming about 9 minutes in just because of the fact that, like, there's a woman, I think it was the flower shop, or maybe it was just in the Chamber of Commerce place, but the blonde woman with, like, the very spiky hair was, like, recounting these things, like, without blinking, just completely sure of herself. She says she's lived in Forks, like, her whole life, and then she says coyote in a way I'd never heard before.
Oh, that was an East Coast coyote that I heard, and I was shocked by that.
And I was like, if you've lived in Forks your whole life, why? First of all. Second of all, why are you speaking like that, though? Because that's not how we say coyote in these parts. So what's happening? But yes, the lore was absolutely fucked up. I remember, Rachel, that you had, like, texted me about this when you were watching it. Can you tell me about your reactions to the Twilight Lexicon website, please?
Oh my! So they talk about the Twilight Lexicon website, which, if you don't know, it was just like one of those super early 2000s websites that was just a big place for Twilight fans to connect. And they said, Twilight Lexicon, created out of necessity. And that absolutely sent me to a place I could never return from.
There was a need for this. We had to do it.
They filled a need. And
they were clamoring for it. I also do love, that was a whole segment of, like, all these little fan sites and, like, forums and stuff around that time, which was, like, very fun nostalgia fandom vibes.
Yes.
But there's this one site where it's just, like, the Twilight guy.
Yeah, I looked him up after this. He's still trucking.
Hell yeah, dude. It's just this dude who's like, I need a space for the fellas, you know, who want to walk Twilight and read Twilight and not feel ashamed. And he's like talking about all these emails he's getting from people that are like, man, you know, I don't know if I can want and read Twilight because, like, it might make me seem like a pussy or whatever. And it's like, bro, what?
There was that part, too, where he got an email from another guy who was like, yo, like, I really want to love Twilight, but but the boys say no.
The boys.
And so he was talking about how, like, he wants to read these in public, which, like, wow, okay. And so he just put car magazines over the outside of them.
Oh, my God. Yes.
I also want to know where they're finding car magazines in 2009. Like, absolutely. I feel like they were gone by then.
First of all, sourcing car magazines. Second of all, Twilight is a fake book, and just like
it's the wrong size.
And like, I'm assuming there's some cutting involved here, but like pasting the fucking cover of a car magazine onto a like 600-page fucking book on the subway, being like just a car magazine.
My personal favorite character from this documentary, and I will say character here because I don't know if these were paid actors.
These are not real people.
Is the guy, I'm called him in my notes here, the absolute king from MTV.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Everything he said, I was just like, yes, oh my God. And he was out here dragging Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
It was something really beautiful. And I feel like the first clip that you see of him, he's just like, yeah, Twilight, it's kind of wacky. Like, we were starting to show, like, some Twilight-related stuff on MTV, and then we started
Twilight Tuesdays.
Yeah, Twilight Tuesdays. We should really implement those back in our lives.
Absolutely.
And then I feel like progressively as the documentary went on, he got more and more deep, and I was waiting for him to show up in the next shot with one of those chokers from Hot Topic everyone else was wearing.
Like, I am a vampire. I love this.
Also, what did you guys think of Twilight Bill Nye? The guy with the whiteboard?
The fucking red string of this professor. The fact that they never mentioned the whiteboard behind him with all of these, like, ancient runes and scribbles on it.
First of all, it looks like the whiteboard in A Quiet Place where it's all just like, what does it need? What does it want? Like, what's the secret? But this poor fucking guy is like, he's like an English teacher, right? Or something.
Yeah.
And he has this full whiteboard behind him full of just runes and scribes and just like this whole theory. Like, he has every book listed out and like all this like actual theory.
He even had
him.
Midnight Sun on it.
He's got Midnight Sun up there. He's got like so many notes behind him and so many like academic principles behind him, and not once is it ever referenced. Ever.
Absolutely not. All he spends his time talking about is how the people reading Twilight are having a religious and also sexual experience with it. And he keeps comparing the Twilight Saga to the Bible, which, like, is a little on the nose.
Like,
every turn, it was just like, I couldn't tell if he was talking about the Bible or Twilight, and honestly, they are the same now. It's fine.
Oh my God. The Twilight, like, Bill Nye professor, and also the Carlisle dad, I think were my favorite.
Oh my God, Carlisle dad.
Carlisle dad, who literally was transforming into a vampire every single cut to him. He was slumping further and further down that wall.
As the movie went on, he just became more and more feral.
And 100% he role plays this in a certain room in his house, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
For him, it was an erotic experience.
The first couple moments of looking at him, I honestly could not tell if he was wearing a wig or not. Because it looked about the same as, like, pre-Breaking Dawn Part 1 wig. So I was just assuming. And then he started grabbing at his hair and talking about how he dyed it. Like, he didn't dye it. His daughter did and wanted to make it
wasn't
look
for
like Carlisle.
me. I didn't.
But now he's got to keep it.
Now he has to keep it.
I also wrote in my notes about him, and this is a direct quote. In fact, I won a contest about it at the DVD release party at the South Center Mall. Which
is our mall around here for folks that don't know. Oh my God.
And that is bliss.
First of all.
Next time you can go back to that mall, you can think fondly of our dear friend.
And should be a DVD store that does not exist anymore. I can guarantee it.
Oh, true. An FYE. The ruins of an FYE.
Yeah, it's awful. Ugh, it made me so uncomfortable.
But I mean, it does beg the question, did you guys experience an erotic or spiritual experience reading this? Because I for sure felt both.
I read these at the end of 8th grade going into 9th grade, and at that point it had to be sexual, if I'm being honest.
Sexual.
At this point, it's more just of an obligation, and I'm just embarrassed that I still like it, but, like, it's fine.
Sure, yeah.
Getting into this people section, they actually start to talk about how many people went to this original, like, book signing in Forks, which 250 people there seems like a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The thing that really fucked me up about this is I guess I had never really looked hard enough when I went into, like, the visitor center. The amount of mail that they get for these fictional characters.
Oh my god.
Is unreal.
What I would give to just flip through those binders.
I would imagine, like, with Midnight Sun coming out, well, even with Life and Death coming out, and
True.
then Midnight Sun, there was probably a dip in time, and now it's probably back up to about normal.
That's something that I've been thinking of this entire time watching it, because they talked about, you know, like the event that they do in September for Bella's birthday that we were going to go to this year. And we don't talk about it. And just like the numbers and how steadily they increase. I think it was like by 2009, they were expecting like 20-some thousand people or something. Like,
yeah, it's huge.
Absolutely breathtaking. Who knew what would have happened by like Breaking Dawn era? Are you kidding?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Because at this point, only the first movie had came out.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's the thing that really fucks me up is that like the movie had just come out when they were filming this.
And so I'm like, what would, barring what's happening with the world, if this had just been a normal Tuesday 2020, what do we think it would have been like for Midnight Sun down there? Because we were not prepared. Allie and I have been saying we were going to go to this shit for months
Years.
now.
Right.
Yeah. Like, and so we had no idea Midnight Sun was coming.
Yeah, the fact that we were planning this before it even happened is unreal. It's wild. The thing that I think surprised me the most about this, and I did not remember, is how much beef there is between the local businesses and, like, the tour industry.
Yeah.
And they get into that quite a bit. Mainly this dad figure, who apparently does the voiceover for the tours and is, like, aggressively into it. That surprised me, of him, like, telling his whole life story of, like, we used to live in LA, which is so many people.
Yeah.
And then we moved to Vegas, which is still a lot of people, but a little bit less. And then we came here to Forks and we fell in love, and now I do a bus tour. Like, hello?
It's so weird.
What?
It's like, I know so much more about you than I ever wanted to.
It's unnecessary.
Also, I don't know if that tour is still happening, because I remember the last time I was there, I did not see that bus. But I think the year before that.
As far as I know, it's just self-guided.
Yeah, and they go to like the center with the doll.
Yes.
And you get that little map. I thought it was funny that 48 seniors were graduating from Forks High School.
Yes.
Wow. Do you imagine that people transferred in and started going there? I mean, there are so many people in this that said they moved there.
I feel like all of the town characters seemed absolutely interested, because there's the Dazzled by Twilight guy.
Yeah.
There was the cop figure who pretends he's Charlie Swan. He's like role playing on a daily basis.
To maybe like an unnervingly amount, you know? Like it's a lot.
Like, do your job, I guess. But like, this is unnecessary. There was also the Alice girl at the flower shop.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she definitely moved in, and that was like a whole thing.
She was literally like, I visited, and then I just asked if anybody needed someone cosplaying Alice, and they were like, absolutely, sweetie. We'll take you.
We're gonna make you a
and
star, kid.
From, like, Ohio.
The other thing in this section that really fucked me up is the fact that the actual family doctor is, like, in and on the bit.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
Yeah.
fucked me up this whole time that I was like, first of all, like, I get it. There's, like, these tourist restaurants and these tourist places that are, like, super into it, and that's great.
Right.
This is a family practitioner.
Right, you're a doctor.
People trust you with their lives, and you're like, oh, yeah, well, this could be real.
Yeah, there's a guy, he's, like, kind of attractive, and he, like, goes to Seattle all the time, and, like, he could be a vampire, I don't know.
We don't think he's going to Seattle. We think he's going to Mountain Lion Town, if you know what I mean.
Ew. Wink, wink, wink. Wink, wink, wink. My friend is dying. Can you please help?
I broke a bone. Yeah. Can you just, like, help
Can you just give me a cast? Come on.
Meanwhile, you have Dad from Dazzles by Twilight or whatever being like, driving them into the hospital parking lot to show them the Carlisle Cullen vampire parking. Not just parking.
Yeah.
But he was just like, now don't go in there, ladies, pretending you broke your little ankles to get a little moment with him.
Some of his commentary on that was absolutely absurd. One, that they go by supposedly Jacob's house, and they're pretending like all of this is so real, but when you get up close to Jacob's house, there's just a poster of Taylor Lautner in the window.
The most unnerving thing I've ever seen in
It's
cinema.
not even like a picture. It's just the poster. It has Twilight on the poster. Like, you can see
There's
it
words.
clearly. Like, it says the word Twilight on it. And it has the backdrop. It's like, my man, come on. Can we try a little bit?
What about the lady? There's that woman that owns the Twilight house, like the Cullen house, and they're like,
yes.
You can't get close, but you can literally go up to the window and look in. Like,
she just sacrificed her living room.
Does she have to clean, like, every day? Like, that would suck.
I bet.
Does she keep all those, like, Twilight books and, like, memorabilia there year-round all the time? That's just her living room decor.
Twilight core.
They also... For real. Us. They also mentioned that they go into Forks High School. Like, they open it sometimes for tours. And the principal was very adamant of, like, well, everyone's, like, really respectful and they don't come in when we're learning. And it's like, hello? There's no way in a Washington school that you can just walk in and be like, yeah, I'd like to take a tour right now, even though there's minors in this building. Like, what the fuck?
I was severely disappointed that the biology professor teacher man did not have Miss Golden Onion.
For real.
Like, they interviewed him way too much, and I was like, when are they going to pan to the left and we're going to see the golden
Show me
onion?
that sweet onion, baby.
Roll that beautiful onion footage, you know?
You know what I want to see.
Yeah. That's all I wanted, because they show that reenactment, like, in the biology class, but they don't put the golden onion next to him, and it's like, what's the point?
Also, yes, those Hillywood cosplay people.
Oh my god.
So, there are people on Twilight. What? There are people on TikTok. My brain has been absorbed to her now. On TikTok, I highly recommend looking up the Olympic Coven. There's other people that do it, but that's the one that I see the most on my For You page. It's literally that. It's just Twilight cosplay, and it's beautiful, honestly. And I love that they're still doing it in 2020.
They were the ones that were supposed to be the special guests for Bella's birthday, like the Fork celebration this year. They really commit to the bit.
Oh, man.
Because originally it was supposed to be fucking Billy Burke. But then they were like, lol, we can't let him die. So it's just the Olympic Coven, and they looked great.
Wow. They honestly do amazing, honest work out here, and I'm proud of them for it.
Absolutely. The other thing that surprised me that I did not remember is that, like, Bella Italia is a real place.
Yes, it is.
And supposedly Stephenie Meyer called and asked extensive questions about their menu.
So,
which really fucked me up.
That was the part that I had a question about, because they go through this whole thing where they're talking about how Stephenie Meyer called Bella Italia and asked a million questions about the menu. Specifically, the best part of the lore is that she thought that Bella would eat gnocchi, and that would be her, like, first choice. And I love that little tidbit of information that we have about Bella's mind.
She's Italian.
Chris, my partner, says to me during this part, he's like, do you think that she talked to any of the Killiu tribe at all when she was doing her extensive research?
Seriously.
But she made sure to ask about menu items at Bella Italia.
Right.
It's just
absolutely
interesting.
Funny how that works.
They do a whole section on La Push in here, and it was far more representation than the entire movies
Literally.
or books.
I was shocked that they actually interviewed tribe members. Yeah. Absolutely shocked.
Yeah, I agree. I did not remember that. And the fact that they were, like, I think it was Roy Black Jr. was just, like, so in on it, like, loved it.
Yeah.
And was, like, fine taking pictures and stuff. But I was surprised that they got people there that weren't like, fuck this mess. Like, I hate this thing.
Yeah, because you know that exists. You know it has to.
Oh, it has to.
But at least she did her thorough research on the menu items at Bella Italia, because that is where, if you misrepresent mushroom ravioli, things can get really fucky.
And apparently also asked about veal.
Yeah,
veal
who was
parmesan.
eating that?
Like what?
Did she really think Edward was going to throw that up later? Like, because that's Bella's Miss Vegetarian. So.
She would be opposed for so many reasons.
Yeah.
Also, of all the meats, the baby one. It's very interesting.
Final thoughts on this film.
I think it's a must watch, and I
Yes,
think if you're looking for something to follow up like the void of watching Parks and Rec, I think this is for you. It's only an hour and 25 minutes, but I think it gives you everything you need.
Right.
It feels like so much longer.
Yeah, it does feel like 3 hours.
It really
long.
does.
What I will say is I guess when I watched this, it obviously didn't exist anymore, but I didn't realize until after we were done watching this that they did another one by the same producers, but specifically in Volterra. Which is, they put it out in the year of our Lord, 2013.
Jesus.
So after the last movie came out, and I'm very intrigued at some point to finally watch that, because it's shorter.
Wow.
It's like 66 minutes.
Oh, perfect.
I would have loved to have seen that like right after they'd filmed New Moon or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So as of when this comes out, but also just next week, Midnight Sun is finally being released.
What a sentence.
I'm curious to know what predictions or thoughts that you have that we can look back on once we actually have the books in our hands.
Oh my god. I've been reading the PDF.
I expected nothing
In
less.
preparation.
Because I wanted to know, like, when the book gets here, I want to compare notes and see, because she always would say, like, that was just a rough draft. But
Right.
I'm very convinced that that's just, like, to the publisher. You know, like,
Right.
no edits. It's fine.
I
So,
fully believe she has been sitting on this like 700-page document for over a decade, or she just wrote it all besides that first draft 2 weeks ago.
That's the one I'm leaning towards.
Yeah.
my predictions are that we are going to get, like, flashbacks into the lives before Bella and everything. You know, I want flashbacks of when they were first turned, or even like human lives. And I know we did get a little bit of that, but we never got it from their perspective, especially like Edward was he was the first one turned. And so to see a flashback of like them all showing up to the family, you know, would be really fun to read. And so I'm kind of hoping that we get more of that lore, considering we had to hear about boring baseball Paul a lot in the first book. So, I mean, that's some lore we didn't really need to hear much about, but we did, you know?
I'm very curious about the similarities and differences that this will provide. I'm also very curious to know if her bitterness on all of this settled down, because I remember as soon as this got leaked, that she had come out with a statement being like, fuck all of you. If I was going to even write this now, I would change the ending. Yeah. James would win. The Cullens would die. Fuck all of you. And I am very curious to see what kind of mindset she was in over the past 2 weeks when she was writing this. Because I'm not convinced that she wrote this before.
Has she fully healed from all of this?
Exactly. That is what I'm very curious to know.
I also want to know, like, do we still believe the rumor that it was Robert Pattinson's, like, team that leaked it because he was given a copy of this to get into character?
That's a good question. I know that he had access to it, but we also haven't heard from anyone else that they had access to it. Knowing how much he loathed this series from the get-go, I wouldn't be surprised if it was someone from his team.
Oh my god.
I really hope it's true.
God,
that's my favorite legend. It's that and Marilyn Manson, and those are my two favorite myths.
Oh my god.
It's haunting. But it's definitely a weird thing to say that after all this time, next week we will have the copy of the book and be able to actually look at those first couple chapters of what is almost 700 pages.
God.
How many poems do you think will be before each chapter? Do we think that will even still exist? Will there be moments where Edward writes in script and it's actually pasted there on the page, a la Be Safe?
Oh, God.
Absolutely.
Jeez.
If I know anything about her, I know that there's going to be a lot of intentionally blank pages.
Yes, blank pages, ellipses out the wazoo, italics.
How many chagrins do we get? You know? How many chuckles and how many chagrins?
Yeah. Oh, no.
The fact that we are just so willing to dive back into this, I think personally I'm just very curious to see what kind of resurgence, like especially since we're kind of living in this Twilight Renaissance right now, what this new content will actually do.
Right.
I think it'll draw in younger people again. Like, obviously everyone that read the original books is all in their like late 20s right now.
Right.
And so I'm hoping that this brings in a whole new It's like when they added Friends to Netflix. That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
Just a whole new generation of Twihards, you know?
And it's appropriate timing, too. I'm glad that you mentioned that because they're also putting the Twilight Saga, all of it, on Netflix come August,
God.
like in preparation for this book being released. And so I feel like the access to this content will definitely encourage new fans, which I don't enjoy giving Stephenie Meyer money, and thankfully, like, we are not having to pay for our copies, but, like, what the fuck? At least just buy it at your local bookstore, I guess.
There will be a used one at Goodwill in a matter of moments. Probably right now as I spoke this. It's probably leaked already.
It's leaked. That's where the leak starts. It starts at fucking Goodwill. That's it. That's what happened.
Well, next week, we will officially have our copies.
Ooh.
We will be looking at chapters 1 and 2 of Midnight Sun. I'm so excited to talk about this book for the next 2 years.
Yes.
Cody, how do you feel, Cody? Like, because everything that you had to read had already been out for so long, and it was you, like, coming back to this amazing piece of script.
This rich universe.
So, like, how do you feel getting to read this along with the world in real time, and then probably seeing the movie, because you know they're making a movie. Like, they have to.
Almost
absolutely.
certainly. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like the only other time something like this has happened was, like, Life and Death, which I've already forgotten about, mostly.
Same.
But I think this is totally different, where it's, like, something that people have been wanting forever, and we've been talking about forever.
Yeah.
And it's just weird to see it, because I fully believe that she was gonna fucking bring that draft, like, to her grave with her, and, like,
I
never
really never expected
fucking release it. But hey, we're in wild times, so we're gonna shit's just happening. So I'm excited, you know. But also am realizing that this is it for the next moment.
You don't know. There could be prequels after this. She's like, oh, man, I just got the juices flowing.
I know,
I'm
this is just
ready to
encouraging
dive.
her to just keep doing this. And we keep letting her.
Do you remember in the documentary they were talking about those 3 women, and they were like, I mean, I can imagine being in Twilight fandom for the next 70 years.
Yeah.
And I looked at them, and for the first moment I saw myself represented, and I was like, if I'm 70 years old and still talking about this, what the fuck? Like, no.
That's all I could ask for, to be honest. That's all I want.
I can't wait to have worse hearing than I do now and still have to try and make that comedic audio.
Oh my god.
Like, just about the same fucking thing. We have a whole bunch of our patrons to thank, based on Twilight fanfiction titles from the Hugo awarded
Yeah.
AO3.
Put some respect on its name.
Right, exactly. Cody, would you like to start with our new patron?
Absolutely. Welcome to Carrie Goldberg. Who's gonna be Rainy Girl.
Ooh.
Great. Love that. I'm going to give some love to Mickey Meyer. And Mickey, you are obviously going to be the fanfiction written by Hesitantly Hipster Alien, which is titled Twilight? Twilight.
Maggie Quinn, you are a perfect metaphor.
Heyo.
Just one perfect metaphor.
Yeah. Shout out to Katie Weber. Who's gonna be a reversal of fortune.
Oh my god.
Whoa.
Shout out to Zoe Steele.
Boing.
Who's gonna be by Salem the Plant Dad. It is titled Hunger.
Nice.
Well, Rebecca Cullen, amazing name.
Boing.
You are The English Rose by Maisie 2K10.
Ooh.
Oh my god.
Ooh.
How sophisticated.
Shout out to Elizabeth Swan.
Pew, pew, pew.
Who's gonna be Falling for a Dark Soul.
Wow. I am going to give lots of love to Amy Taylor.
Boing.
Who is going to be by Aubrey_Jean, The Forgotten Child.
Oh?
Hello? Shout out to Mulch Gray.
Pew, pew, pew.
Who's gonna be Your Wish is My Command.
Wow.
I love that. Taylor Brown Town Lautner.
Blam.
Hearing someone else say it just brings you so much joy.
Yeah.
From Hesitantly Hipster Alien.
Oh.
You are Twilight, and that's game.
Shout out to Kelly Beck, who is going to be by the blind musician for the love of a daughter.
Great. Shout out Aaron Salinger.
Pew, pew, pew.
Who's gonna be by blood and by bleed.
Wow.
Hello?
And Dana Kavanaugh, you are Altitude by Alligator Blood.
Fuck yeah.
Holy shit.
Fuck yeah.
And last but certainly not least is Sophia Salinger, who is going to be, obviously, by Melons is What Would Damon Do?
Hey.
Oh. Great
Hello?
question.
What would Damon do?
It's about time somebody asked, you know?
So, Rachel, I would love to hear this fan fiction that you brought into the space today.
So, I know that you guys have been doing this for a very long time, and I really needed to dig deep because I wanted to make sure it was something that you had not seen before.
Yeah.
And I legally do not know how I came across this, but this is called, now what's so upsetting about this is that it's called that it's going to be a series, but this is the only iteration of this, and I'm so hurt. It deserves to be more. So this is called Twilight Commercials, the series, by Pandora's Notebook of fanfiction.net. And
Oh no.
this particular story is called Jacob's Orbit's Gum. You know Orbit. We love her. She's keeping us fresh.
My attention.
So this was written, by the way, in 2008. Okay.
Great.
Fantastic.
So if you can, reach back into your minds to 2008, there was that Orbit commercial that was just like a good clean feeling, no matter what. That whole thing. So that is where this is coming from. Okay.
Oh my god.
Great.
And I obviously can't read all of it, but it's literally one page and I'd highly recommend reading it. So just to summarize what I can't read, it's basically the scene where Jacob kisses Bella without her consent and she punches him. Okay.
Okay. You
So
have my attention.
she smacks him and she's like, damn it, Jake, you broke my hand. And then it changes. The tonal whiplash that happens is absolutely absurd. So this is where it goes. He says, I wanted to tell her that she broke her own hand, but I was suddenly distracted by a woman dressed in all white who suddenly appeared beside me. She had curled blonde hair and a huge smile plastered across her face. She posed with a pack of gum? Who the hell are you? I began, but she was already speaking in an annoyingly high-pitched voice. Dirty mouth? Clean it up with Orbit's new peppermint chews. She handed Bella a piece of gum. Bella accepts it with her working hand and popped it into her mouth. She chewed it briefly, then smiled hugely. Her teeth glittered brightly. And Jacob says, wait, looking at the woman, are you saying I made Bella's mouth dirty? And she goes, fabulous, and then leaves.
Oh my god.
And then there's a little segment at the very bottom that says, Stephanie Meyer sat in her living room, writing pad on one side, bowl of popcorn on the other. She stared at the TV in shock. Why didn't I think of that? She yelled, grabbing her notepad and scribbling notes. Jacob then imprints on the Orbits lady, and they have three sons.
What?
One of which is named Sergio.
Slow down. I don't understand what's happening.
Hold on, what?
There are...
Hello?
So that's what's happening in Midnight Sun, I think. I don't know.
That's our big prediction for Midnight Sun. Wow, I was not
It's just a
expecting the
self-insert.
voice acting.
That's great.
Amazing. Fantastic.
I just felt like I was consumed by her,
Yeah.
The role I
Yeah.
was meant to play.
Yeah.
I just think I love when it breaks the fourth wall and it's Stephanie Meyer watching this commercial. Because, wow, to think of her in her home just doing anything is amazing, but specifically this.
Oh my god. That is... I think it's art.
Yeah, I would say so too.
I think so,
I'm
too.
not art designer, but I think that's art. Thank you for bringing that into the space.
My pleasure.
Rachel, where can our lovely listeners find you these days?
Yes, so I do have an Animal Crossing related podcast now. We are called The Villager's Voice. You can find us on most podcasting platforms. And we are also streaming video games, mostly Animal Crossing, on Twitch at twitch.tv/The Villager's Voice. And then also I do art, and you can check out my art at shoprwd.com. And
Hell
that's
yeah.
game.
I love that. If y'all are not in on the Twitch community, that is The Villager's Voice, and also the Discord community, it is literally one of the safest places on the internet, and I would highly recommend.
And also it has a dense Twilight presence.
Oh,
It
yes.
Certainly.
I would say we are wet with Twilight energy over there.
The amount of times that I've seen the Oath,
Yes.
Twilight Oath on there,
Oh my
has
gosh.
been a lot.
We were going to make a Villager's Voice Oath. I don't know if that's still in production, but we have for sure read the Twilight Oath several times.
Oh my god.
And it's beautiful.
Amazing.
The
love
fandom intersections here, it's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
nice.
One could even say it's not even a Venn diagram so much as it's just a circle at this point. Rachel, it's been a pleasure to talk to you since I cannot see you
I
in
know.
these times.
Thank you for having me. I love to be here.
You can go ahead and lie back down in the forest, and we'll let you know when we need you in the next couple of
We'll
years.
summon you
All right,
again.
I'll be listening to some Laikiki Lee or whatever the fuck her name is.
And when you see us all and hear us all next week, we will be talking about Midnight Sun. But for now, as 2/3 of the people on this podcast say here in Seattle,
Get bit.
get whipped.
Ooh. Yes.
I had to do it once.
Into the Twilight is an Earbud Media production. Our theme music is by Eli Krauss, and our artwork is by Maddie Padilla. Follow the show on Twitter at Into the Twilight, and support us on Patreon at patreon.com/intothetwilight. Send us an email or a fanfiction at intothetwilightshow@gmail.com. You can find Allie at Into Wild Places and me at Cody Crow.
You've been listening to Earbud Media Production. Earbud Media, audio for everyone.